Good evening. I am Urvashi Chauhan and you are watching Courts Today by Live Law. In this video, we cover some key Supreme Court and High Court updates. From the latest development in the Udaipur Files case to the NEET UG re-exam pleas and exclusion of visually impaired candidates from judicial exams. We also look at significant rulings on protests, delimitation demands and Kerala Governor's Bill assent issue. Watch till the end and remember to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Starting with an update on the Udaipur Files row. Today, the Supreme Court directed the parties objecting to release of the controversial film Udaipur Files Kanhaiya Lal murder to approach the Delhi High Court. The petitioners had challenged the centre's revisional order which had cleared the film for release with 6 edits. A bench comprising Justices Suryakant and Joy Malya Bagchi refrained from staying the film's release, instead requesting the Delhi High Court to hear the matter on priority this coming Monday, that is 28th July. The petitioners include Jamaat Ulema-e-Hind President Maulana Arshad Madni and Mohammad Javed, one of the accused in the Kanhaiya Lal murder case. Senior advocate Kapil Sibal, appearing for Madani, argued that allowing the release would render the entire challenge meaningless. On the other side, senior advocate Gaurav Bhatia, representing the film producer Jani Fox Media Private Limited, strongly opposed any further delay in the film's release. He cited past judicial precedents involving the Kashmir Files and the Kerala story, where courts refused to stall the screening of cleared films. Another counsel supporting the film remarked that vilification theory being put forth by the petitioners is exaggerated, arguing that social fabric of the country remains unaffected by such films or even actual terror attacks like the 26/11. Justice Kant remarked that since the matter was being relegated to the High Court, the Supreme Court could not pass further interim orders. However, Sibal requested that the Delhi High Court be urged to take up the case urgently. Sibal further noted that it was practically impossible for the filmmakers to get the revised version certified by CBFC and released before Monday. He added that if they manage to do so, then so be it. If not, the High Court will have the chance to consider the interim relief. Also, the Supreme Court in its order has clarified that it has not expressed any view on the merits of the case. In the next update, the Apex Court today dismissed a plea seeking directions for Union to set in motion delimitation process for increasing the number of assembly seats in the states of Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. A professor named D.K. Purushottam Reddy had filed a petition in the Supreme Court saying that the number of assembly seats in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana should be increased now, as was promised in the Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act of 2014. He questioned that the government has already done delimitation in Jammu and Kashmir, so why not in these two states? Let me tell you, delimitation means redrawing the boundaries of electoral constituencies. That is, the areas from which we elect our MPs and MLAs. This is done to make sure that each constituency has roughly equal population. Changes in population like growth, migration, urbanization are reflected in how constituencies are divided. For example, if one area has grown rapidly in population, it may need more assembly seats, while another with less growth may need fewer or redrawn seats. The writ petition filed here sought directions to the Union to operationalize Section 26 of the Andhra Pradesh Reorganization Act. But the bench of Justices Suryakant and N. Koteshwar Singh explained that Section 26 of the AP Reorganization Act was subject to Article 170, Clause 3 of the Constitution dealing with delimitation, as per which delimitation can be held only after the first census conducted after 2026. In 2001, actually, the Parliament amended the Constitution to freeze delimitation till 2026. The court said that to allow such a prayer would open floodgates of litigation by other states. The court also held that centre's decision to proceed with the delimitation in Jammu and Kashmir, which is a union territory, is not arbitrary or discriminatory because different rules are applicable to union territories and states. And for a union territory, the bar of Article 170 does not exist. The union government has officially clarified that it has no current plans to remove the words socialist and secular from the preamble to the Indian Constitution. In a written reply to a question raised by Samajwadi Party MP Ramji Lal Suman in the Rajya Sabha, Union Law Minister Arjun Ram Meghwal addressed concerns about public discussions initiated by some social organizations around dropping these terms. I hope you know that both these terms were introduced and added to the preamble during the emergency through the 42nd Constitutional Amendment in 1976. Meghwal has stated that while certain groups may be expressing views or creating public discourse around the issue, this does not reflect the official stance or actions of the government, and that any amendment to the preamble would require broad consensus and formal deliberation, and no such process has been initiated. The clarification comes amid increasing petitions and social commentary challenging the inclusions of these words, especially on grounds that they were introduced during emergency without adequate public consultation. In his reply, Meghwal also referred to Supreme Court's judgment in November 2024 in the case of Dr. Balram Singh versus Union of India, where the court rejected a plea challenging the insertion of these terms. The top court had emphasized that both terms have since gained wide acceptance and understood by we the people of India without any ambiguity. The judgment further observes that secularism is now seen as a key facet of right to equality, and socialism reflects the Constitution's vision of economic and social justice without restricting private entrepreneurship or the right to do business. In another update, the Bombay High Court today dismissed a petition filed by the Communist Party of India Marxist, which sought permission to hold a protest at Mumbai's Azad Maidan against the alleged genocide in Gaza by Israel. A division bench of Justices Ravindra Gughe and Gautam Ankhad pulled up the petitioners, asking why they were more concerned about international conflicts than domestic issues. The bench remarked that India has several of its own pressing problems and questioned the party's priorities. The court said, and I quote, "Our country has several issues to deal with. You are looking at Gaza and Palestine. Why don't you do something for your own country? Speak up for causes here. Speaking for Gaza and Palestine is not patriotism." Senior advocate Mihir Desai, appearing for CPIM, responded that the party is actively involved in several domestic issues and has conducted health and education camps across India. However, the bench remained unconvinced and said that it was curious as to why the party wanted to protest a conflict thousands of miles away. The court asked why the party was not protesting over local civic issues like flooding, blocked drainage systems, or illegal parking. It noted that while Palestine and Israel are fighting far away, local problems affecting citizens remain unaddressed. When asked whether the protest was related to India's foreign policy or any ongoing operation like Operation Sindoor, the council clarified that the protest had nothing to do with such matters and was solely about the right to free speech and peaceful demonstration. But to this, the bench pointed out that the Supreme Court had recently flagged misuse of the right to free speech. The court further emphasized that matters relating to foreign policy should be left to the Government of India and Ministry of External Affairs. Importantly, the court found a procedural flaw in the petition. It noted that the original application for permission to protest was made by the All India Peace and Solidarity Foundation and was rejected by Mumbai Police on 17th June. CPIM, the petitioner before the court, had not filed any independent application for protest, but was only challenging the rejection of AIPSF's plea. The Supreme Court has issued notice to Uttarakhand Public Service Commission after a visually impaired candidate filed a petition challenging her exclusion from the upcoming judicial services examination in the state. The petitioner, who is 100% blind, approached the court against an advertisement dated 16th May 2025 for recruitment of Civil Judges Junior Division. Her main grievance is that the advertisement illegally excludes persons with blindness, locomotor disabilities and non-domicile candidates from applying under the Persons with Benchmark Disabilities or PWBD quota. The case was heard by a bench of Justice J.B. Pardiwala and Justice R. Madhavan. The advocate appearing for the petitioner argued that such exclusions violate both constitutional rights and central disability law. The bench was visibly disturbed by the state's stand. When informed that no lawyer had appeared for the state and that the exams are scheduled to begin on 31st August, the court issued notice with Dasti service, meaning the petitioner can serve the notice personally for urgent action. The issue lies in how the Uttarakhand Public Service Commission has limited eligibility under the PWBD quota. The seats are reserved only for 4 types of disabilities: leprosy-cured persons, acid attack victims, muscular dystrophy patients, and dwarfism. This, the petitioner argues, violates the Section 34 of Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2016, which clearly mandates that 4% of posts in government jobs must be reserved for all benchmark disabilities, including blindness and locomotor disabilities. Under Section 34, subsection 1, 1% of the reserved posts must go to specifically people with blindness and low vision, and another 1% to those with locomotor disabilities. However, the Uttarakhand exam notice fails to follow this. The petition also points out that the authorities ignored her request for a scribe despite her being blind, another denial of her legal right to reasonable accommodation. The plea further highlights another major issue: the requirement that candidates under the PWBD quota must be domiciled residents of Uttarakhand. This, the petitioner argues, violates right to equality under Article 14, the right to profession under Article 19(1)(g), and the right to life and dignity under Article 21 of the Constitution. Notably, the plea relies on a recent 2023 Supreme Court judgment in a suo motu case where the Supreme Court had clearly held that visually impaired and low vision candidates are eligible to participate in judicial recruitment exams. That judgment had struck down a similar exclusion clause in the Madhya Pradesh Judicial Services rules. Well, the matter will now come up again in 2 weeks, and the court has warned that it will pass orders if no one appears next time. The Apex Court today allowed State of Kerala to withdraw 2 petitions that it had filed last year against the Kerala governor. These petitions challenged the governor's prolonged delay in giving assent to bills passed by the State Assembly. A bench comprising Justices P.S. Narasimha and A.S. Chandrurkar passed the order despite objections raised by the centre. Senior advocate K.K. Venugopal, appearing for the State of Kerala, made it clear that state simply wanted to withdraw the petitions and was not asking the court for any other relief. However, Solicitor General Tushar Mehta, representing the centre, suggested that Kerala's petitions should be heard along with the Constitution bench matter related to President's reference on timelines for governors to act on bills. This reference under Article 143 is now being examined by a 5-judge bench. Venugopal, strongly opposing to this, said that how can a withdrawal be tagged with another case? The Constitution bench will be surprised. The Attorney General R. Venkataramani also raised concerns, suggesting that since Kerala was relying on a previous Supreme Court judgment in the Tamil Nadu governor case, the issue needed further scrutiny and could even merit being referred to a larger bench. Justice Narasimha observed that a petitioner has the right to withdraw their own case and cannot be stopped from doing so, unless they are asking for something to be decided. In this case, since Kerala was not seeking any order, the court allowed the unconditional withdrawal of the petitions. And lastly, the top court has today dismissed 2 petitions filed by NEET UG 2025 candidates who sought a re-examination due to power outages at their examination centers in Madhya Pradesh. A bench comprising Justices P.S. Narasimha and A.S. Chandrurkar upheld the decision of the Madhya Pradesh High Court Division Bench, which had earlier refused to allow a retest. The court noted that the High Court had thoroughly examined the matter from all angles, including the findings of an independent expert committee. The court reiterated that it cannot direct a re-examination as it falls within the exclusive domain of the National Testing Agency, and the High Court's conclusions were sound and based on material evidence. However, offering limited relief, the top court directed those students who are eligible for counselling must be permitted to register and take part in the ongoing counselling process. The petitions, if you recall, arose out of a July 14 decision by the Madhya Pradesh High Court, which declined to grant a retest for candidates who had faced power outages during the exam held at centres in Indore and Ujjain. Initially, a single judge of the High Court had allowed the plea and directed the NTA to conduct a retest, holding that the students were at a disadvantage. That single judge ruling also stated that the ongoing counselling process would be subject to the outcome of a retest. However, this decision was later overturned by a division bench of the High Court. The division bench relied on the findings of an expert committee which concluded that despite the power outages, there was adequate natural light in the examination halls, allowing students to continue the test. This division bench also noted that out of over 27,000 students who appeared for the exam in those centres, only 70 had approached the court. In addition to Madhya Pradesh petitions, a second similar plea concerning a power outage at an examination centre in Chennai was also dismissed by the Supreme Court. Also, earlier this week, the same Supreme Court bench had declined to grant any interim relief to stay the NEET counselling process, which had already commenced.